and language therapists work with patients with communication difficulties, and that's difficulty reading, writing, speaking and understanding after injury. We also work with patients with difficulties eating and drinking and swallowing after injury. We are very involved with multidisciplinary team working, contributing to goal-setting meetings and multidisciplinary team meetings. We do a lot of training for other professionals and families as well, and we get involved with mental capacity assessments and best interest meetings as well for patients. I enjoy seeing the patients through their journey from admission to discharge. When the patients are first admitted, we'll set goals for them and we'll work on those patients in the immediate time, but we're also looking forward to what they need when they're discharged home. So we're looking forward to that transition into the community and enabling that smoother transition into the community. We work with them from a speech therapist point of view, but we're also working holistically as part of the multidisciplinary team and looking wider than just from a speech therapy point of view, so we get very involved in that way. And I think the type of patients that we get here are very wide and varied as well, so it helps us to improve our professional development at the same time and accept that as a challenge. So from a communication point of view, we're looking at enhancing their communication to a functional ability that they're able to then use outside of the unit once they go home. So that might be, it could be speech, but for some patients it might be an alternative means of communication. So it might be an electronic aid, it might be reading, it might be writing, any kind of means that will get their message across. From a swallowing point of view, we aim with our patients to enable them to have a normal diet and fluids. That's not always possible, so then we would be looking at the safest means of oral intake for those patients. So I think we need to be able to gain that first social interaction with them to be able to get their confidence. It's really important that we have that right from the beginning to ensure their motivation to engage with us from the beginning and to see that journey through to discharge. We tend to try to meet with families early on the patient's admission. It's important as a speech therapist to do that because we'll often need to find out the background information regarding a patient, and due to communication problems quite often the patient can't tell us, so we'll need to speak to friends and family and carers to find out information such as the patient's hobbies, the patient's interests. We will then incorporate that information into our therapy, because if we're using things that interest the patient, then often they're more motivated to engage in therapy. Sometimes it's difficult to meet with families and carers because of timing, so we might give out what's called a communication questionnaire, and that will ask similar questions like, did the patient enjoy reading prior to their injury? If so, what did they read? Was there a certain type of newspaper? Were they quite a social person, or were they more of an introvert? Just to get an idea of that patient's social and communicative background. So it guides our therapy, then we know a bit more about the patient. So involving family from that point of view is really important for us. When a patient's admitted to the ward, sometimes we'll have some background information on that patient already if they've had a previous speech therapist. So we'd ensure that we liaise with that speech therapist to find out where they're up to in their goals. Then we would reassess the patient on admission, either carry on those goals or we'd set new goals, and we'd always involve the patient in that decision making around goals. So it's very patient-led and patient-focused. We find that tends to motivate the patient more. If they're involved in the goal setting, then they're more likely to engage and want to carry out those goals further down the line. I get a lot of satisfaction from seeing the patient being admitted to the ward with a whole host of issues, and then being able to follow that journey all the way through to discharge. So not just from a speech therapy point of view, but from a mobility point of view as well, and from being able to see them do more activities of daily living, to see that we've all worked together as a team to enable them to go from where they were on admission to then on discharge and a smoother transition into community living.